All right, let me say good afternoon, good evening, good morning, if it is the morning hour or the afternoon hour or the evening hour from the place you will be following us from. My name is Prince Moba. This is the US based Focus on Liberia television. We live in the offices of Honorable Ellen Attoh-Wreh. She's the representative of Margibi County Electoral District number 3. We come to speak to her on the celebration of International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking that has been celebrated on the 26th of June every year. And this year's celebration is under the global theme People First, Stop Stigma and Discrimination, Strengthen Prevention. That's the global theme. So, Honorable Attoh, let me say firstly, welcome to Focus on Liberia. How are you doing?
Thank you. Welcome to my office, and to all those who are following us. I want to say good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're watching us from.
Great. Firstly, let me just say how you doing. I mean, I'm sure we have not spoken for almost like a year now. How's everything?
I'm doing good. I'm great.
Great. Okay, so the reason we we decided to speak with you, you've been in the vanguard of this drugs law in Liberia. It was passed from the lower house, went to the Senate, and then it stayed around the legislature because there's a need for conference committee. I don't know how that one going to come to that. But looking at this this global theme of this year's celebration of the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, it talks about people's first, stop stigma and discrimination, strengthen, prevention. What does that mean? How can we localize that in the Liberian's context?
Yes, so it is a good thing today for the world to celebrate this day. But I can say to you, I'm not happy. Okay. It was my hope that we would have achieved at least the passage of the law before the celebration on
this year's celebration.
This year's celebration, yes. And so I can say to you, it is something that we need to look into, and it is no mistake that you came to my office for this interview because you followed the activities in terms of the efforts applied to ensure that that law was passed. The bill was passed into a law, sorry. But we did not achieve that because when we passed it, the House of Representatives, it had to go to the Senate, and when it appeared to the Senate, it did not go for concurrence, but rather there was some amendment made. So because of the amendment, according to our rules, it has to go to a conference committee. So that's where we are. Our conference committee needs to be set up to see what's there, why the Senate made amendment to the bill that was before us. So I can say that it is a good bill that we want to pass into law, and we don't want the end users to be stigmatized.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a key word. Globally is being discussed.
Globally, yeah. We don't
how can the Liberian men understand
stigmatization
and discrimination?
When I'm saying we don't want them to be stigmatized, we don't want them to be put in a category where they will not be or they wouldn't fit in society, for lack of better words. For example, someone who is a victim of the uses of illicit drugs, and at the end of the day, the person applied to some institution, even though he or she has been clean, but that stigma is there. No, we cannot employ this person because this person was a drug addict. If you do it that way, that person would not fit in society, and they might get frustrated, they might want to go back, and they will just don't know what to do. So we want them to be treated equally. Once they go through the process and they are free, they are clean, they should be able to fit in society, that at least they can be used as references, as hope for others who are into it. Because some people believe that there's no need of me even trying to quit, because when I quit, people will still see me and point fingers at me or identify me as that person used to be on drugs. So how can we try to get rid of that? Those are things that we're looking forward to. And it's not just to go to the end users to talk to them, but to see how they can be rehabilitated, how they can be transformed into who they were before, or even better, to fit in society. That's why that our bill talks about the rehabilitation process. It's not just to penalize, those that are using it or those that are importing. So after you identify a group of people who are the victim, there should be programs, there should be a safe place for them, because some of them are homeless, some of them they don't have parents, they don't have anywhere to go. So how can you put them in a home that they will be rehabilitated, that you can even send them to some of the government institutions to serve as, to do some internship and make sure that they are transformed, because you need to test them to know how transformed they are and how willing and ready they are to be in the society as ordinary people.
Great.
Prior to becoming an addict.
Yeah. Great. So a part of the celebration today is actually geared toward, sensitizing people to get rid of stigmatization and also making the world a drugs-free society. That's what the UN said. What's the possibility to having that the world as a drugs-free? Let's start with Liberia first.
I can say Liberia, we are way back, and I would say to you, it broke my heart after all the efforts applied, and we are still applying the effort with the recent drugs saga in the country. I've been following it. We are trying our best to see how we can get rid of this thing totally, because we know how challenging it is for us, especially our younger ones, our children. We always say that the children are the future leaders. So if they are starting so early and damaging their future, who are we going to count on? Who are we going to rely on? Who are we going to turn the power of the country over to when our generation shall have faded away? So I think the time is now for us to work together collectively to see how we can ensure that we have a safe environment or environment free of drugs. There are so many places that our children are taking the drugs. It's not only in the ghetto.
Okay.
You find it in the schools, you find it in the church yards, right. Just wheresoever you find that social gathering.
How alarming it is for
it is very alarming, especially Liberia. We are not sophisticated. We don't even have the actual centers to give adequate rehabilitation. That's why we're advocating for it to pass into a law where it will be captured and there will be special programs and allocation for them, for the end users. You understand? So we are not already there, and we're seeing it coming and increasing. I know there's another one they call push. I don't know how it is. I've not seen it. But I've seen a lot of people in the street. Some of them, you think that they put glue down for them to be, or they were stuck at a particular spot, and you see them like somebody trying to make up his or her mind whether they should take a step or not, and like they lost in wonderland. Oh, that push. That's how it treats people. I don't know how it is. I've not seen it, but it breaks my heart to see it. Quite recently, there's a video that was circulating of a young girl, in her uniform. So, can you imagine a student? Where do you think she got it from? The parents, we are busy, we leave for work. Sometimes we get home very late. There's no time to even talk to the children. They spend most of their times in the school. From the school, they go back maybe home for a few hours. Some of the children are living in gated communities or houses or homes with fence, security. So you have a driver who picks the child up from the home to the school, from the school back home, maybe to a program, to a church function. In between, we need to study to see how and where and when do they have access to do such.
Great. So this is quality effort. So in terms of awareness, either from the school, in the homes, in the community, from the government level, how are we proceeding? Are we doing well in terms of awareness? Because the focus now should be on those who are not on the drugs, so that you can save
prevention,
from being addicted to it. So where are we with awareness across the country?
You'll be amazed. Excuse me, I did not just capture the name, but there was some awareness that I came across. If maybe if that are listening, maybe somebody will be able to validate. But I went Saturday, I went around the Fiamma Belt, right around Afriland, and I was in my car waiting on my sister, and I saw the publicity going on.
Okay.
I put a stop to the usage of or the intake of kush and shisha. That's what I saw on the bus, and we're creating awareness in the community.
How did you feel?
I felt good because that community, if you know Fiamma Wese Junction there, before reaching the Wese Junction, right around the Goodwill Clinic.
Yes.
Going to the market, it's a populated area. So being on Saturday, and young folks were all standing around looking at the vehicle. So at least it sends and it rings a bell to those that, oh yeah, this thing is getting serious.
Can we take that to the schools, to the churches, maybe when the pastors are preaching on Sunday, they just pass around it on the devotion line, the teachers talk about it in the classroom.
I can tell you it's necessary, yes, it's necessary because peer pressure works. Some of them that you see in the street today, I can tell you, there was just one simple mistake. Some of them the first time, and they never had the opportunity to leave it. Some people try for the first time and they had the opportunity to say, no, this thing that I tried is not good. Some try for the first time and they got hooked up. So there's always a first time to everything. So I think we need to start from the schools, the church, everywhere that we think we can make it our duty to create the awareness, we should.
Great.
Because we don't know, as I said, where you sit down and you try to fathom how my child or my relative got involved into this. When he or she has a driver, then you start to think, then you start to connect the time interval from this place to another place, and you get to know who their friends are, their parents, who they interact with.
Great. Okay, so as we draw to the conclusion of the very impromptu and short interview, what's your own experience with drugs addicted individuals? So what have you experienced? Anything like that? Have you come across some of them? Have some of them been close to you? What do they tell you sometimes? What have you seen them do?
I know a lot of them because in my district, Kakata is no exception. Matter of fact, yes. Not this gone Sunday, the previous Sunday, I was in the ghetto right around the World Bank. You ask them, yeah, I'm saying it here, and you know, I went there early morning, Sunday morning, and I went there. I said I came for us to have breakfast together. I brought your breakfast. Oh, our man, yeah, we told you won't go back to school. And I saw like 3 persons that I know were doing used clothes business before.
They were there.
Yes, and I will consider those ones that I saw like their one leg is in and one is out. Okay. So there's hope, because the last time that I saw them selling and what I saw 2 Sundays ago, it tells us something that they just started and they are still in the right state of mind, because we talk and everything. He said, trust me, once you can talk to the big brother to come to help us, I will stop and I want to do something. But it's not all to it. You need guidance. You need to take them to the center to show that they will be properly rehabilitated to leave it. If you empower that kind of person who is not really inside or outside, you don't know what it's going to be like, because addiction is bad. Once you have it, I like to compare it to make it so simple to the children in candies. Once you give a child money, any money, maybe like $10 or so, I run it. Where you going? I'm going to buy my candy. They are addicted to the sweet. That's what it is. So a person who is not clean, you give you a shit money for empowerment. What comes to the mind when he is alone or when she's alone? Okay, I will do the empowerment, but let me just take maybe $10 from there to buy something. And what I know, the drugs they are using, they are taking, it's not expensive. They can't afford it. Yeah. So we had a conversation. We always talk to them. They got a various blocks, and since they say they are willing, how can we channel them through the rehabilitation centers?
Okay, we're going to conclude the bill and the recent case with government with the 100 million drugs. But the global discussion today is centered on raising awareness about the sexually transmitted diseases that are associated with the uses of drugs. Right. People who use drugs, they are vulnerable. Yes. I mean, they have fun with anybody. So it gives them some the transmission of sexually transmitted disease from one person to another. It just is a certain leads to HIV and AIDS and all other sicknesses. So as we discuss this, how can we also bring that into the picture so they too can know that is part of vulnerability on their part?
Yeah, so for my team and myself, the awarenesses we've been doing and continue to do, we put all together. Okay. Once you are under the influence of something, you're not in the right state of mind. At that point in time, you don't know how many persons you are even you are connected with because you're not interested or not. Sometimes you know what's going on, but you cannot control yourself how to get away. It's not only the sexual transmitted diseases. We have hepatitis B, C, which is also deadly, and those things are contagious. You get it through sweat and all that. So imagine somebody who is maybe high or drunk, and you find a person sweating profusely, and you get in contact, because where you even see them, their sleeping place, how they even take it, it is not something easy. Sometimes they share needles. You inject yourself, you finish, and your person, you give it to the next person. So in that process, whatever infection that person has, of course, they're going to pass it on to you. So that's why we are particular about the prevention. I'm not looking at the cure. I'm looking at the prevention. Because sometimes if you do not prevent it, you will not even have the people, the survivors to rehabilitate. Yeah. So why don't you prevent, instead of you waiting for them to be in that situation, wanting to rehabilitate them? What if the person is not strong? Because it breaks the immune system. Imagine somebody who is involved with drugs, and he or she get in contact with a person who has HIV and AIDS. You don't know your status, the person don't know their status, and you're moving. After a period, it starts to break your immune system, and you start catching malaria, cold, and all sort of things, not knowing what it is. You're moving on to the next person, because all of you, the cycle, you are not in a rest state of mind. So how can we do that? How can we prevent it? Is by creating more awareness and let them know what it is, that even if the drugs do not kill you, there's a possibility that some infection or some other sexual transmitted diseases, or even one that you can get through saliva, through fluid, you might get in contact with that, and it's also deadly.
Great. Okay, so I like the part you talk about the prevention. It's better to prevent it than to allow someone to be addicted to it, and you want to rehabilitate them. Yeah. So that goes back to the legislature with the law that you are so frustrated about, because even when the laws are on the book, you have to make sure they are in full, because the drugs come into the country through our port of entries, and so many ways to come. They can always say they are drugs cartel, all those kinds of things. So what can you tell the Liberians that are watching you and others from across the world as to why we still have a drugs law that was passed from this lower house to the Senate? Why we still have it in the corridor of the legislature? That's one. And lastly, what's your takes on the 100 million drugs case that this country, this state Liberia lost some weeks ago?
Yeah, so at this level, the national legislature, it is my hope today. We had a discussion briefly with some colleagues after the leadership meeting that we had, and we talked to a few persons because the conversation came about considering the celebration today, and we all share ideas. So we are trying our best for that committee to come back, to get to work and come back to us to see where we are. Let's see the version of the Senate, why they think they made an amendment, and see how we can come together as one house and put it back on the floor, or to ensure that after the amendment we came to a common ground for the sake of the Liberian people, for us. It's not for any other person but for us.
What is the hold on?
I don't know, because there was some amendment, and according to the law, if there's a bill that passes through the House and the version that we send to the Senate is either they reject, they concur, or they make an amendment.
Yeah.
So what I was told that in that bill, some of the senators felt that something else should have been added. So that what the thing should have been added is what that is supposed to bring to the committee.
It has taken so long.
It has taken so long. So I can say to you, I'm frustrated because it's something we should treat as a matter of urgency. Yes.
Okay, just the 100 million case. This
and
country
it is not only that too. I also understood that it has some financial honor too. Okay. But of course, the recommendations that are in there, it requires money being allocated in the budget to ensure the safe home. Because as it is, where is the ideal rehabilitation center that will be able to take the number of persons we have. So if we need additional, how can we do all of those things? Ways and means to also need to tell us how it will be done. But from the conversation we had today, I'm positive that maybe this week, I'm optimistic.
Before you close, I'm sure you'll be closing by July.
Yes, July, exactly.
So what's your take on this case, the landmark case that we lost? You are a member of the legislature, and most of the time the Liberians will say, oh, they lost because of 21, oh, they lost because... But then when it did not come to you, they came from the police to the court.
So this is what
and
it
the court
is.
said, the people were accused, we do not have, the state did not have enough evidence to indict them, to have them guilty rather.
Okay, so we have three branches of government. We got the executive, we got the legislature, we got the judiciary. So they are there to adjudicate cases. Based on the evidence or whatever they had, I can tell you that I was eager and I'm still eager to understand what led to it. I can say they were right or they were wrong because that's their responsibility. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a legislator. So in my mind, all I need right now is to understand the procedure, what led to it, to convince the Liberian people, not me as an individual. You understand? That's what we need to know. What happened is the executive branch and the judiciary. So they went through it and they said, no, the people that we arrested, they aren't the right people, or we supposed to let them go. They need to tell us why.
Probably you may not get that.
They need to say to the Liberian people, whether they say it or not, is on our conscience. People are watching us, so we will be judged in the future. And I can say to you clearly, when the rain falls, it doesn't fall on one man's roof. The S that spells sweet, it spells sour. That I would say. So if you think that you do not owe it to the Liberian people, well, it's on you. But I can say to you, you never know anything any human has done, another human is capable of doing it. So it could be today, somebody is a victim of the uses of drugs. It might be somebody who's close to you too. Or even if you don't encounter one of your family members or somebody close to you, friend or whatever, you are vulnerable. There are places we cannot walk freely at night because we know that the disadvantaged youth are there. So are you safe? You are not safe. I'm not safe. So it's not about what you can do based on your position. It's how we all can work together collectively to ensure there's a free and safe environment. Do you think I want to be walking in the night and tap my phone and put it under my clothes? No. You think I'm going to be looking around me? I'm not at peace.
Yeah.
Yes, because the environment is not safe. And those that are under the influence of drugs, they are not in the right state of mind. So whatever they do at that point in time, they do not know. They live with the damage.
Great.
So I'm still seeking more. I don't want to be fast. I don't want to condemn the act of judgment. I'm not going to heal them either until I can be adequately convinced based on the decisions that were made. But until then, until I can understand it to my own satisfaction, I'm not going to heal them. I'm not going to castigate them. But I'm going to say it is their duty to perform their duty.
I love that. So let me, you are not, if you don't want to comment on it in a force, but because I didn't inform you about that. But as a female and member of the legislature, there's a landmark case involving our former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Musu-Scout. Currently, she's been incarcerated. The man rests in the prison. But there are a lot of, public sentiment, perception, and all the kinds of things. What could be your own take on that as a female?
Yes, from the beginning, the onset, I've been following the case. And again, I would say I'm not a lawyer. So we have the lawyers who are there following the case and based on what they want. But I can say to you, no matter what, all I'm asking for or all I will want to see or hear at the end of the day is for justice to be served. Whether it's against or in favor, justice should be served to serve as a deterrent to those that are out there with the mindset thinking that they can do something to walk away. Because sometimes it's never good to preempt. Sometimes we see things from the outside without knowing how deep it is. So I'm just grateful for the fact that there are people who are alive who there's opportunity to question them. unlike some of the instances where you find out that it was just one-on-one, two persons, and one person died, only one person there, so the dead body cannot wake up, of course, to say what actually happened. But in this case, we got people who are alive. It was just a person who passed, and I regret, I mourn. She was a young person, a promising young person, a female. She had her life ahead of her. From what I understood, she was in college getting ready for graduation. We don't know who she would have become. So for that reason, I believe she do not deserve it. The family, the Liberian people, those her students, her classmates, they do not deserve it. You know how many persons are affected mentally because of that? This person, myself, were together a few days ago. We interacted, and this is it. Is this how cold my country is? There are a lot of students who are traumatized from that. So I would say...
The graduating class.
Of course. And I understood, I heard she was a very active person. I don't know how true it is, but that's what I heard. So there are a lot of people who are wondering, like, what's the essence when we don't know tomorrow? She's struggling, at the end of the day, this is what happened. And it happened at her home. Wow. So if not even for me as a person, but for the sake of the Liberian people, for the sake of those who are out there wondering, I'm appealing to those who are in possession of the authority or in a position to render judgment. They should do it free and fair so we can know the truth, so her body, her spirit can be laid to rest, so every other person's mind can be at peace. And we deserve to know, as Liberia, the war is watching. We need to know. So I can say I just want justice. As a Liberian, as a woman, I want justice.
Great. Thanks so much for affording us this opportunity to speak with you frankly in your office. It's been nice, and I think you thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Marva. I appreciate it.
Great. So the voice of Honorable Ellen Attoh-Wreh, she represents Margibi electoral district number 3. She's going back for re-election. We didn't talk about that. We're going to find another time to talk about the politics. But thanks so much for following. My name is Prince. Let me say what's up to the teams in the US, the team in the US rather, and Mr. Dennis Yah, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Focus on Liberia, Mr. Anthony C, and the team in Liberia, Gwendolyn Durato, and myself. Thanks for following. My name is Prince Moba. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.